Hello, everybody. Today's main topic, as I said, is online marketing tactics, and we're going to talk about hashtags in a little bit more depth. We've had some questions over the last couple of weeks around hashtags, so I thought I'd spend today's session around that and just getting to know hashtags a little bit better and why you should be using them. So first of all, that obviously a hashtag, that's what it looks like. But you also know it was called an octothorpe. I never knew that. I learned that something new for me. So it's also called an octothorpe. Now you won't be able to get that out of your head because I know I can't. All right. So first of all, around the hashtag. So basically what it comes down to is it's a word or a small phrase that has no spaces, no punctuation, and no symbols, but it always has the hashtag or the octothorpe that precedes it. So as soon as you put that hashtag at the beginning and then you've got the words after it, it becomes a searchable piece of content. So it doesn't matter what platform you're on, if it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, even Google for that matter. If you type in hashtag and then whatever the word is or the words are, then that will become a searchable piece of content. So for instance, if you used today's workshop, for instance, it's hashtag today's workshop, it will bring that up, and what the result will be is anything that's actually had that written in it. So if it's a Facebook post, if it's an Instagram post, Twitter, or anything like that, it'll bring up that particular post with that word or words from that hashtag in it. So it's a really great way to grab the attention of whoever it is that we need to. So one thing to be mindful of though is you need to have public accounts. So when I say public accounts, in Instagram, for instance, where you can have a private account versus a personal versus a business. If it's a private account, if you're using hashtags, people won't be able to see your information. They won't be able to see your posts because it's a private account. So they do need to be public before they can actually be seen. Then they have suggested that you're shorter, the better. So if you've got a really long business name, so if you've got, isn't it silly? I can't even think of anything at the moment, around the world, hotels and resorts, for instance, as an example. So that's a really long hashtag that you could potentially use. So I would definitely suggest using something that's shorter than that. So coming up and thinking of something that's going to work well for your business. And then in saying that, if you're using just some other terms or some other hashtags, try and keep them short so that if people are looking for them, they tend not to actually go for the longer ones anyway because it takes too long to type. So it's better to go shorter if you can possibly do it. Then, of course, what it will do is increase your engagement. So by having hashtags, what it does is people can find you. So for instance, on Twitter and on Instagram in particular, your posts won't work if you're not using hashtags. So if you've just got your post and your captions reading there, but you have no hashtags, yes, you might get a few people who will like it or potentially comment it if they follow you and if they've interacted with you a fair bit. But if you haven't had those in, you will not get any new audience or any new engagement. So it's vital that you use hashtags, especially on those two platforms. Facebook in the last, say, 12 to 18 months or so have said, yes, we are now putting some preference around hashtags. And they have said that, using a few in their Facebook posts now will also help you get your posts into people's news feeds a little bit higher. So definitely make sure that you're adding some into your Facebook posts as well. And then, of course, it's all about your brand. So if you're known as ABC Hotel, then you might have a hashtag as ABC Hotel. But you got to tell people. There's no point having a hashtag and not telling people what to use. So it's really important that you make sure that it's on everything that you do. So even on your own posts, I know it sounds silly to write your own hashtag, but it's really important to get that education over. Add it into your bios, add it onto your website, add it into any marketing collateral that you might have so that people know that that's the hashtag they need to use for you and your business. And then, of course, it's going to be easier to find you. So once people know that that's your hashtag and they start using it, in not just in their own post, but to search against you, then that's something that they will actually help get you or get their attention, and then hopefully get their engagement, whether it be likes, comments, or shares, or even a follow for that matter. So it's really important that we have these hashtags as a mix as part of our overall strategy when we're talking about social media. Research. So like everything I've probably pretty much have said over the last few couple of months, is there's no point just jumping into something without doing some sort of research first. So you need to know what people are doing, and you need to know what they're using potentially. So first of all, you could use some tools that are out there that can help you actually find the right hashtags for you. So there's one called Hashtify, Hashtify.me, and there's another one called Tag for Likes, for instance. So there's a lot more, but if you just go and do a basic Google search for hashtag tools, it will bring up a whole heap of different ones for you. So that will help you. You can also go and monitor other accounts. Go and look at your competitors. Go and look at influencers, for instance. Go and look at any other accounts that you like as well. Any of those, and take a look at what hashtags they use, because you'll find that they'll be quite strategic in a lot of the ones that they're using. And you could potentially use some of those as well, or come up with some new ones for yourself. Then, of course, you can also do the social media listening tools. We talked about these in a session, I think it was last week or might have been a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about those listening tools that will help you get this information to be able to use for your own posts. So things like Social Sprout and gosh, I just had a total mind blank then about the other ones, but Social Sprout's another one, Iconosquare's another one, and so forth. But I did do a session around social media listening tools a couple of weeks ago, so you can always go and have a look at that recording. So these will help you too. Go and look at what's trending. It may not always be good for your brand or what it is that you're selling as a product or service, but if there is a trending hashtag out there that you can use, then look at it, because it could be something that you can just ride off the coattails of, just to at least get noticed. So, but just be careful, because sometimes some trending hashtags have got such a huge number of posts against it that it may go against you as well. So for instance, the highest word or the highest phrase that's ever used for a hashtag is actually the word love. It's got something like $17 billion, 17 billion posts or something mentioning it in something somewhere. So that's a lot. So you can imagine if you use just the word love on a post, you're not going to get very far, because no sooner do you put it there and you post it that you're already down to the bottom of the list. So you need to look at ones that will help you, but also look at those trending ones too, because as I said, you might be able to leverage off the back of them. Then, of course, every time, don't just always use the same ones. Assess what's working and then adjust it, because it's something that, just like everything that I've told you over the last couple of weeks, that you've got to monitor these, because if you're just using the same set of hashtags, and you're just getting the same engagement rate every time, something needs to change. So you need to look at your hashtags, or it could be the post itself, or the actual visual, or whatever the case may be, but make sure you look at it and you readjust as you go. And then, of course, you're going to analyze what's working. So you can go onto your posts and have a look and see what is working and what's not. Excuse me. So some are easier than others. So Facebook and Twitter, for instance, it doesn't really give you a lot of detailed information about hashtags and what ones are working or not. Instagram does, though. So I think I did. So here, when you look at your post insights, you can see on the screen there where the reach or the impressions that are coming from hashtags that I've used in this particular post. So you can see here that overall, there's about, say, 19,000 impressions on this particular post. But if you have a look at it, the hashtags themselves are giving me nearly, or 6,500 just in the hashtag. So that to me is saying that, yes, those hashtags are working that I've used, but maybe next time I might need to actually just mix it up a bit more and hopefully get that a bit higher. So that's a good thing with Instagram, is it does give you the results from your hashtags in this one. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you which hashtags have worked. So you've just got to try and play the field a little bit and hope for the best and get a good mix of hashtags moving in your posts. Now, one thing is you need to be really careful before you decide to push it or use a hashtag out there, even if it's for your own business, for instance. Go and check it. I'll give you an example. This one was floating around for a while, a couple of years ago, but it's always a good example of what not to do with a hashtag. And if you haven't seen this before, it'll give you a good chuckle. And if you have seen it before, then you'll probably still have a good chuckle, because I know I do. So we all remember Susan Boyle, and she brought out one of her albums, and you can quite clearly see what she used was not a good choice. So be really careful when you're doing it, especially when it's a launch or an event, or if it is your brand. Be really careful to make sure that the hashtag that you've chosen is not one that's got a little bit of a twist on the words for you there. So yes, we don't want to have something like that happen to you. Always makes me laugh. All right. So I always get the question about, I still don't know what hashtags to actually use for my posts. So I break them down into themes, and makes your life a lot easier. And you don't have to use all of these, but if you use a few of these different themes, then that will make your life a lot easier when it comes to choosing what you'd like. So first of all, always use your own hashtag. So like I said to you before, you've always got your brand, your business that you would use first. Generally, you would only have the one hashtag in this case, but some businesses, depending upon how diversified their business product is, you might have a couple. So it just depends. So always number one is your own. Then, of course, if there's a campaign, so if you're doing a campaign, or even if you're maybe one of the associations or the body that you're a part of, or a membership organisation that you're a part of, and if they're about ready to put out there a campaign, they will no doubt have a hashtag that's related to it. So a big one at the moment, which most of any of the tourism people with us today, and even if you're not tourism, you probably know as well, is for the Tourism Australia campaign, for instance, which is Holiday Here this year. So that's the big campaign that they've been driving for the last 12 to 18 months. And I think they'll need to do a bit more work on that one now that we've heard that Brisbane goes in lockdown this afternoon. So campaign hashtags are really important, because you're riding off somebody else's campaign, or your own for that matter. So really important that you use those. Then, of course, if there's holidays or special occasions, so a big one that's coming up on our doorstep only days away is Easter. So again, if you're in the accommodation business or in the tourism side of things, Easter holidays, things to do, that sort of thing. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Anzac Day, all these things that are coming up very close, very soon. I would definitely be using those, or any other special occasions like birthdays, anniversaries, or anything like that. The other good ones that you could use off these as well is, how there's always an international or a national day of. So I have no idea what today's is, but there's, could be something. It was International Day of Trees, or I think it was on Friday just gone, or not long ago. So there's always something happening that you can leverage off. So definitely use something like that. The trending ones, like I was saying to you before, so the trending ones are the ones that you will pick. You don't even have to research, basically, because there'll be things that are happening in the news, or there'll be things that are very topical at this point in time. Like Easter, for instance, is obviously trending at the moment, even though it's a special holiday as well. But there's always something that's trending, and they are quite easy to pick up. You don't have to really delve too deep into those, or to find them, rather. The subject. So what is it that you're actually talking about? So, or the photo that you're using, or the video. So is it if you're a plumber, is it a photo of a plumbing job that you're doing? If you're an accommodation place, is it your room type, or whatever the case may be? So use the subject of whatever it is that you're talking about, and you can probably find that you'll get a few of those that you can find. And they work really well too, because people do look for certain particular things that if I'm looking for a place to stay, I could potentially go and search for, accommodation or, room type or studio or whatever it is that I'm looking for. I will potentially go and search that as a hashtag. Then, of course, if it's community-based or if it's a destination, for instance, those sort of words are very good too. So, for instance, if if you're living on the Sunshine Coast where I am, our overarching one here is Visit Sunshine Coast. So that's a hashtag that you can use there. Or if you're living in another place, or you could just do it as the place where you're living or working. Just depends on what it is, or if it's a community-based one that you're looking for as well. So that's another theme that you can use. Events are a big space, of course. So always, if you're running an event or if you're attending an event, there will always be a hashtag to suit with that. So always use those ones in it. Or you could be a business that needs to leverage off that event. So you could use their hashtag. So again, it could be, maybe it's a women's lifestyle expo or something like that. So you could leverage off that hashtag that they're actually using at that expo. Or it could be a major event that's in town, for instance, that you might be able to leverage off. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just a tourism business that could use one of those, because, there are plenty of retail and general services that wouldn't be able to leverage off major events with visitation that's coming to the region. So definitely another great one. And then, of course, your last ones are, you could have a range of popular versus unpopular, if that makes sense. So when I say popular ones, they're more to do with phrases. So things like get outside or explore more or from where you'd rather be, or, something like that, where there's a bit more of a phrase connotation to it. So what that basically is people are looking for these feel good experience hashtags. So, use those, or feel good, happy place, all those sort of things. They're your popular ones and a little bit more broader in what they're doing. But when I say unpopular as well, there are some that will be a lot more used than others. So for instance, explore more, I believe, has got something like 5 or 6 million hashtags that are or posts that are used with that hashtag in it. So again, like that word love I was saying before, when you've got ones that have got a huge amount of posts attached to it, it will drop you down in that news feed. So you need to be using a mixture of them so you don't get missed out. Or it might be looking for ones that maybe aren't quite as popular as explore more, for instance, and maybe looking at, explore your backyard instead. So that one you might find will drop down in the number of hashtags that it's used. So the likelihood then of someone finding your post is a lot better. So there's some of the ideas for themes. So lots of different ideas, and depending upon what platform that you're using these on. So for instance, with Facebook, the suggestion is to go around about 6. Use 6 about on there is quite good. At the moment, as I said before, they are putting a little bit of preference on posts that have got hashtags in them, but they also need to be good hashtags too. So ones, as I was saying, in these sort of theme groups work really well. Instagram, for instance, you can have up to 30 hashtags on Instagram posts, but bearing in mind, on a Instagram story, you can only have 3. So if you're using any more than 3, it's not doing you any favors. So on a story, you can have 3. On your actual post, you can have up to 30. So it just depends which one you're working with. Reels, you can also have up to 30, and it just totally, there's been not much out on that one yet. I'm still waiting to see what the best practice is on Reels, but they have said that you can still use quite a number of those hashtags in Reels as well. And then, of course, you've got Twitter. They do suggest using up to around about 6 if you've got space, remembering you have got very limited characters use in Twitter. So up to 6 is good, but you could use a couple if they fit into your actual wording. That's no problem. YouTube, no problem. You can have a number of those in YouTube. Same with Pinterest. There's no real limit in those ones, but again, they do suggest to keep them to a minimum around about that 6 level. So but Instagram is the big one. That's the one with the most. All right, so from here, what I'd like you to do, if you haven't already got it, is make sure you've got your own hashtag. Research ones that could be suitable for your business and what you're posting about, and then create a small list. So you might, and if you're like me, but I've got a number of different hashtag lists that I've got ready to go, saved in my notes on my phone or on my computer. And when I'm ready to use them, I just go and copy and paste. So, and then all I do there is adjust them slightly if I have to. So if I have to take one out or take a couple out and replace them with something else, then that's what I will do. But I'll have a core list and different ones with different topics that I work by, and I just copy and paste what I can. So, and then that way it's just easier. You don't have to keep typing it in every time, and it just makes it your life a little bit simpler. So save those lists somewhere and then use those. And then let us know how your hashtags are going, because we'd love to know. We'd love to know if, you're having to change up your hashtag strategy a little bit, and then if it's working or not. So, but let us know in the forums, on the group chat on Facebook, and so we know, and then we can start using your hashtags as well. So, okay. So that's it for the session itself. And other than that, have a wonderful rest of your week and the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. So thank you, everybody. Bye.